Birdman for Birdman on the Mountain, and time for the Pinetop Lakeside Community Shout. Hanging out this morning with Mr. Kirk Webb. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, thank you.
That's good. So things have been busy in
Yeah,
the fire realm, and that's not good, is it?
depends on my busy or the guy's busy. Yeah,
Right.
the rest of the crews, yeah, if they're busy, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But for me, yeah, getting out in the public and actually been able to deliver Santa to several different events, so
Very
it's been
cool.
kind of fun.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about, first of all, we want to make sure people are aware of what's going on with their furnaces and then with their fireplaces, right?
Yeah, this is that time of year. Things have gotten cold finally. A few weeks ago we were getting close to the 80s,
Right.
and so now we've gotten to where it's actually wintertime temperatures, and so people are firing up the furnaces, wood stoves, fireplaces. Got to make sure to clean them things out before the event. We don't want to see chimney fires. Chimney fires typically can be a non-event, but in the event that one does get away, you get the separation of the chimney, the piping,
Right.
or in a fireplace, and in even masonry, chimneys can fail and get cracks, and then it can cause attic fires, and those are not good.
Okay, so how I've had a couple people actually ask me this over the last few weeks. They're like, "Well, who does inspect? Should they get inspected? What process should they use?" And
I can't really recommend any one company or anything like
right,
that, but you got to look at what they provide for you as far as what their services are. A chimney sweep, and they're adequately cleaning the chimney. I always recommend people get somebody that ask them, hey, can you film? Can you take a picture of what's inside, and that way you can see the integrity of the pipe.
right,
Because metal, most of our chimneys these days are built out of metal, triple wall metal pipe. Well, with heat, what does metal do? It fatigues, right?
yep,
Starts falling apart. So the only way to really tell if your chimney is still in one good piece is to inspect it with a camera. So being able to get a camera down the chimney and take a look at it, check the joints, make sure that they're still together like they should be. And there's maybe down the road you may have to replace that chimney. Even same thing with masonry chimneys, where the mortar joints can start failing, and heat degrades all those types of things. So it's important to get a full inspection.
very cool. Yeah, and you obviously want to go with somebody that's licensed and bonded. They do
Oh
that
yeah,
kind of things, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just somebody that comes and knocks on your door and goes hi
Yeah,
might not
I'm
be
a
the best
chimney
option.
sweep, and they're yeah. And word of mouth is good too. Have
Right.
getting that
Yeah.
that reputation, and there's use somebody that you trust for sure.
Okay. Cool. So let's transition into some of the other things that are going on. We were talking right before we started about the fact that it hasn't rained and we haven't had any really discernible precipitation in quite some time, huh?
Yeah, in fact, somebody was telling me, and I haven't looked it up to verify, but like 80 days, and that sounds about right. Or and I know talking with Forest Service, Ed Collins, the district ranger, we're meeting or exceeding the highs for dryness levels this time of year, and so we actually are in kind of a fire season right now.
Yeah, if you look at the devastation that's going on in California, that isn't really
It's
exclusive to them. That could
no.
actually happen here right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, and and we all need to be careful with fire, especially when it's dry like it is. I mean, what was the temperature this morning? Like 17 degrees or
Or
less,
12, I don't
and,
know.
and no frost on the windows. That's a
Yeah.
indicator that there's no moisture in the air.
I think the dew point when I looked the other day was 0 degrees,
Yeah.
and that's phenomenally that's not a good thing at
No,
all.
no.
Yeah. So, yeah, you want to be almost like we're in the middle of fire season right now, thinking about outdoor fires, things like that, because you might want it for warmth right now to go out and have some fun, but you really want to make sure that fire's out, huh?
Right, and especially if we get a day that's because we do have burning where you can burn your yard debris, the pine needles and stuff like that to do clean up around your house. We have that burning open right now, but if the wind starts picking up, it can easily get away from you too. It just takes one spark.
Right. Cool. Anything else that we should be thinking about, fire-wise, things like that?
The other thing too is with going back to kind of heaters. A lot of people use portable heaters,
Yeah.
and if you don't have a newer type portable heater that actually shuts off if it gets tipped over, you might want to consider getting rid of that and getting a newer model. Plus, they become more efficient, the newer ones that they sell these days, and so they cost less money to operate. Keeping everything a 3-foot clearance is a good rule of thumb. Make sure anything that can burn combustible is at least 3 foot away. That includes drapes and curtains and up against the bed and things
Right.
like that. So be cautious with those portable heaters as well.
And the one thing I always try to let people know, because they talk about burns and things like that, is it's heat over time. It's not necessarily temperature.
Right.
So it might seem like, well, it's not really that hot, but if it's on there constantly, it will dry it out, get it to a point where it actually combusts.
And I'm seeing a lot of different Facebook posts or other things in the media that a battery from a cell phone being left between the pillows and it causing a fire and things like that. I can remember one fire we investigated that just the fact that the cord for the I think it was a light, but the cord was underneath the bedpost.
Oh, wow.
Inadvertently, they didn't realize they had put it on top of that cord, but that's where the fire started. Eventually, the bed moving around and whatnot caused a short, which then caught the carpeting and the post on fire.
Very good. So once again, it's Kirk Webb, and I didn't mention, but it's Timber Mesa Fire and Medical District.
Correct.
Thank you very much for stopping by. Any other things you want to tell people?
This is a wonderful time to get out and meet family and friends and to celebrate and it tends to be a joyful season, but also on the other hand, there's a lot of people that get depressed this time of year, and it doesn't take but just a few seconds to reach out, and sometimes even just telling somebody hi and acknowledging that they're around, acknowledging they exist, can make a big difference in somebody's life. So be happy and joyful with everybody and spread the love.
One other thing I want to mention, we do have Christmas trees up. I can't use a live Christmas tree because I'm allergic to them, but those with live trees, keep them watered.
Oh, yeah, and especially since we're in that drought time, they're sucking up more and more water, so you may need to water them 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Cool. Everybody be safe out there. Have fun. Thank you, Kirk.
Thank you, Rob.
Got another person, so hang out there for just a second. Be right back. Hey, welcome back. As I promised, a new person. So we've got Mr. Keith Johnson, who is the town manager of the town of Pinetop Lakeside.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. I'm glad to be here today.
That's awesome. Hey, Pinetop Lakeside's been pretty kicking lately, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you've
It
got
has
a
been.
lot of things going on. Why don't you start with the new town hall? Where are we at with that?
Okay. On tomorrow, December 13th, we will receive the funding from the bonds.
Oh.
So last month they sold the bonds, and tomorrow we will receive the funding. We have a call at 9 o'clock in the morning, and so we're really excited about that.
Okay, so those bonds, do they actually cover the entire thing, or is there some carry
Yes.
balance? Or oh, wow.
Yes, it'll cover. So we're receiving $1.9 million. So we're going to refinance the town's municipal building, which is the Public Works building. That has an existing loan on it, and so we're going to retire that and put it all under one.
One group loan, or whatever.
Yeah, one loan. Yeah, one bond, and there's another word for it, instrument for lending.
Oh,
We'll call it that.
They always have these fun terms, government.
Yes, yes. And so we'll do that, and then the rest will be used to purchase the building, which is 1.3, almost $1.4 million. We have also sold 19 acres of land that will pay for the renovations to the building. And so we will, sometime between the end of December and the 23rd of February, we will close on that purchase of the dental design building.
Very cool. And that puts you sort of like centrally located almost for the whole town, doesn't it?
Very close, yes.
Makes it easier for people to get in and out. And of course, it's laid out as an office building, so.
Yes. It's one of those where, when I went in there and I looked at it, I was very surprised at how it was laid out. I did not think that we would be able to find a building in town that had enough space for a council chamber to be able to meet in.
Right.
And you walk in, and there was a room that was large enough that was unfinished. So, I mean, it saves us in having to go back in and tear things out. So it'll be, I have to say that I told Dr. Sullivan he must have been inspired when he built that building, because it fits our purposes very, very well.
Fits exactly what you were looking for.
Yes.
So that's good.
And in the end, we're saving about $3 million. If we were to go out and try to duplicate a new town hall and to build it ourselves from scratch, straight up, we would spend at least $3 million more than what we're purchasing this for.
Yeah, it's funny. Just yesterday, I was interviewing Ron MacArthur, and of course, they are building a new building.
Yes.
And they had I think it's like $3 million worth of dirt work.
Oh, my
Just
word.
a crazy amount of, I forget if that was the exact number, but it's in the next episode
Yes.
coming up. But yeah, it's the amount of dirt work was crazy.
Oh, yes.
And of course, you can't find anything flat around here, so it's not going to be flat like you want it.
Yes.
And so you gotta get what you get, and it's good you found a great building.
Yes, and it's attractive. I believe it will help us to put our best foot forward as we're trying to develop the town, move it towards more economic development. So that's another thing that we're going to be working on here in the near future is an economic development plan. We'll form a local committee, and so we have we'll bring a lot of ideas and be able to move forward.
So that's a perfect segue because people are very important, of course, in running any organization, and of course in government. You've had one person that's decided to move to a different community, and that's sometimes how you get your what do I want to say, your advancement in career, especially in government, is sometimes you move to another community and take a big step. That's Matthew, right?
Yes, Matthew Williams is going to be has been hired to be the town manager or city manager at Huachuca City down in southern Arizona. And so that's been his career path. And just like you were describing, it's hard to always, in a small organization, climb that ladder to reach your goals because there's people ahead of you. And if there's no movement, how do you do that?
Right.
And so typically you're jumping from one ladder to the next to facilitate that climb. And he has been such a positive influence upon our community and the White Mountains as a whole too, in things that he's brought as programs and his working with the nonprofit organizations within the community. So it's going to be a difficult position to fill. And so in that line, we've split the position into two because before he was hired.
What were the two positions? Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, so before there was a Parks and Recreation Director and then a Recreation Coordinator. And the Recreation Coordinator spanned between the Public Works Department and the Parks. And so when they combined, they did some changes with the Parks Department. They created a Community Services Manager position. Then at about that time, the person that was Recreation Coordinator retired, and they never refilled it. So Matthew assumed all of those responsibilities. One of the key responsibilities that he would have would be the economic development also. Tourism, economic development, liaison with the nonprofits, but then he was also taking on all the tournaments and leagues and things like that too. So we spread him really thin, and we couldn't figure out how to, get back to that. And so, of course, whenever you have these changes, it really forces you to look at it. Okay, if we're going to lose Matthew, how are we going to take it to the next level? And so we've been able to split that out and recreate or bring back in the Recreation Coordinator position. And then we just had someone accept that position. And a name that will be well known through our community is Milena Spillman.
Yeah, we've had her on here quite a bit when she was at the chamber. Yes, awesome.
Yeah. So it's a perfect fit. Sometimes when you meet people and you go, I need to remember if something ever comes open, that's somebody I would like to hire. And so, fortunately, this is working out very well for us.
Very good. Awesome. Well, Milena is phenomenal, and I can see her perfect fit for that kind of a position. It was kind of funny when we heard the position come over. We're like, ooh, who would be a great person for that?
You bet. You
And
bet.
boom, she obviously fit the bill. So very cool.
So currently, then we're taking applications this week externally from the public,
Right.
For the community services manager position. And I know I've seen some of the applications come in. We have some really good candidates
Very good.
that have some strengths in their, whether it's tourism and economic development, and so
Yeah,
we're
that's
excited
great to
about
see.
that.
Awesome. Anything else going on? I mean, obviously, tons of
see.
things going on. Do you want to touch on anything in the realm of the roads and things like that? Because I know you guys have a serious
Sure.
focus on that.
You bet. In this past November, we had the election for the franchise agreements with Navapache Electric and Arizona Water. That was an overwhelming majority of, I think it was about 72% of the voters approved those agreements. So that is the first time that those agreements have been in effect or enforced with the town.
Very cool.
So we're excited about that. And then we had tremendous support from both of those utilities to move this forward because it's a benefit for them also. Then we had the increase for the TPT of 0.5% to help fund work on the roads. And the roads in the town have been for many, many years an issue. And I had looked back at previous minutes from council meetings, and I saw the same things being discussed 15 years ago.
Right.
Same roads and all this, and how are we going to do it? And this is how much money we need to be able to dedicate to that. But those funds, it would appear that over the years never got dedicated to the
Right.
because you have your HERF money, but then the town was going to have to kick in about another $500,000 or $600,000 to make that work.
Right.
And it didn't always happen. So pavement preservation, completely rebuilding roads, working on sidewalks, drainages, and things like that, it didn't happen. So the roads have continued to fail. So what was a big problem then is an even bigger problem now. And so now we've been able to move forward, and we've got a 5-year plan. We're finished 2 years of it now. And so now we can keep addressing that down the road.
Very
So,
cool. Awesome.
yeah.
Well, sounds like things are going really well. Look forward to all the events and activities coming out and future
Yes.
economic development. And we'll be getting you in here hopefully more often.
Oh,
as
you bet.
Well,
I'd love to come down and talk about the town because you're right. There's some things I believe that we'll be announcing hopefully in the very near future that will be of a great benefit to the community too.
very cool. So once again, Keith Johnson, he's the manager for the town of Pinetop Lakeside. Hey, that's going to be it for this week's Community Shout, the Pinetop Lakeside Community Shout. I'm Birdman reminding you, if I don't see you around town, I'll catch you right here on the web.